All right, guys, so we've been doing these backstories, and these are backstories on tournament wins or big things that happened, through my career. I think so far, we talked about me parking my boat on dry ground in the dark, running over to take off in a really, really important tournament. We talked about the Bassmaster Classic, winning that, and day three, everybody saw day three and the 29 pounds, but nobody really saw day two. I didn't have a camera in my boat, and day three almost didn't happen because I kind of crashed my boat in that one a little bit. This one is one, man, you guys ask for a lot. Red Crest, 2019, the backstory to the whole thing there of how that went down. So, it really starts prior to 2019. We'd had multiple events on that body of water. And, a couple of those events, I really thought I had a really good potential to win. I had found this backwater that when you pulled in there, there were bluegill everywhere, matted grass, out to 6-7 feet of water, some places 8 feet of water. And you could even see the bass swimming, and you could see lots of 3 and 4 pounders and an occasional 5 and 6 pounder. And I just, for whatever reason, those two previous events, I could not land them. I mean, everything that would go wrong went wrong, and it just never would line up for me. I switched flipping rods, I'd go from fluorocarbon to braid, back to fluorocarbon, changing hooks, throughout the tournament, just so frustrated that I never could land any of those big fish. And, looking back, it was just, I wasn't meant to win, because, and the reason I say that is, man, I believe wholeheartedly that God's in control of everything I do. And he was like, man, it's not your time to win right here. And he had something better in store for me in 2019, like a bigger payday, a bigger stage, winning the Red Crest there. And so then you fast forward to 2019. And all the first rounds were all in pool 8. And the final day they move it to pool 7 where this backwater was. But they didn't let us practice. They gave us 4 hours just to go look at the water. And you talk about a blessing in disguise not getting to fish, because when I went in there, like, you had to get over a couple beaver dams to get in there. And then once you got in there, there's a boat ramp. People are bluegill fishing, crappie fishing, but it's hard to get in there from the river. And I get in there and it looks ugly. Like, there's very little grass. The water's like way dirtier than it ever would have been. And I don't know that I would have had a lot of bites in there. And if I would have had bites, they would have been small, looking at my next day and how it all transpired. But, so in the 4 hours, I just determined I could get in there and get out. And so then we go to the next day, and I get over that final beaver dam, and I'm sitting there waiting for lines in, and they kind of start schooling right there in front of me. And I catch, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 scorables at the time, pound and a half fish. Every now and then I'd have a 2-1, 2-2. And, it was all great and dandy, but, I went in this spot from the history that I'd had in the previous events of big fish. Like, I really felt like I'd catch a 5-6 pounder and multiple 3 pounders in there. And I start fishing in that body of water, and I catch like 139. At the time, I think it was almost the big fish of the day. I think Hackney ended up catching one an ounce or two bigger at the very end of the day. But, and then I lose a couple other big ones. But, I'm going all the way around this lake, and I'm just catching one here, one there, one here, one there. And remember, back where I first started, I had like 7 or 8 really quick bass, but I didn't know that when I got over that beaver dam that I parked my boat on the bass. And so anyway, I fish all the way around this lake, and I'm like fishing, doing really good. And then Hackney gets to within 4 or 5 pounds of me, and like, it's tight and it's kind of nip and tuck, and we're fishing for $300,000. Don't forget that. It's our end of the year championship final day. And when I start coming back towards where I came in, man, I see them schooling up there in front of me, right where my boat was parked that morning. And it's the craziest thing. You know, I say all the time in our seminars that there's so many more bass in an area than we ever give it credit for, like ever. And you have to realize this spot was the width of this room. You know, this room may be 10 feet wide, 8 feet wide. The beaver dam, the neck that goes out that lake. And it was not, I mean, it's 3 foot deep at the deepest, you know, and the next closest, like 6 feet of water is 100 feet away. So it's like it's 6 feet, you know, and it's getting shallow 4 or 5 feet, 5 feet, and then it gets to 2, and then it goes to 3, and then it goes over that beaver dam. And when I say 3, it's probably like 2 feet 12 inches. I mean, it's barely 3. So I sat there, power poled down, threw up, landed on that beaver dam, basically, and just brought my bait back towards the boat and like freight trained them, wrecked them. I mean, I caught 23 bass in 23 consecutive casts. You know, there's a YouTube video out there that Major League Fishing put out, you know, $300,000 payday, I think is the name of it. But it was like the most epic 45 minutes of fish catching I'd ever had. I'm just throwing a vibrating jig, I'm throwing a shaky head, I'm throwing a spinnerbait, a lipless crankbait, and it was just crazy, 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 crazy to catch that many fish. How we doing? Where are we at in standings? You ain't got caught up yet, have you? I don't plan on letting you get caught up.
That's all right.
No, you're not.
They're still up there schooling. Golly. Come on, baby.
What's not getting tired is that school of fish.
Get the belly on that one. Just a whole new group of fish. There's no hook marks in any of them. Ah, my arms are cramping.
1 pound, 8 ounces.
The belly. Got a Don Rooks Billy, or an old Don Rooks Billy. You know, I had one of the greatest boat officials ever, Jim Yandell. You know, been with the league since the beginning, just a true professional. And, you know, so Jim, you know, you catch one, he writes it on a piece of paper, then you're supposed to enter it in the iPad. But I was catching them so quick, he just had time to write the weight down, then get ready for the next fish, get the scales ready, you know, for me to catch the next fish. I had like 23, 24 of them in a row, never not caught one. And then like, man, I finally have a fish landing violation, and old Jim's like, thank you, Lord. Like, he needed a break to start, you know, updating that score tracker. And I needed a break because, man, my arm was cramping. If you watch that video, you know, I'm trying to reel, my arm's all cramped up, you know, just from fishing and just catching one so often. And you know, I think I ended up catching something like 40 fish there in a 40-minute span. You know, 23 of them on back-to-back casts, but that's not taking into account the ones that I'd pick up another bait or get them fired back up. Just a cool day, and to cap off, you know, 2019 by winning Red Crest. You know, a couple other really neat things about that event. I come back to the dock, and you know, my wife and kids had to go home, school starting and all that stuff. So none other than my boss at Nitro at the time, Rick Emmett, sitting there waiting for me at the dock, and my buddy Ott Defoe, you know, just to be the very first people to congratulate me. Meant the world to me. Ott's got a great channel. If you guys hadn't checked it out, he's got a great YouTube channel. And Rick Emmett, he has now moved on to be the head coach at Drury University. Like, that's whole nother subject we need to talk about on videos. Like, there is now full-time coaches at these colleges, which I think is the coolest thing ever. But just really cool. My hat's off to have such good friends sitting there waiting at the dock. And then we had a big celebration back at the hotel that night. I had General Tire, my other sponsor, there, and we just had a lot of fun. And all my colleagues, all the guys that you compete against, you know, the gloves come off and they all congratulate you. It was just a great evening. I'll never forget, you know, everybody being there for that night. But what a day to catch them. You know, looking back on it, I went in there trying to catch big ones. I didn't think I'd catch very many, but I thought I'd catch, you know, some big ones. I ended up catching a ton of numbers, a ton. Like, I had 80-something pounds. You know, my biggest fish that day was 3-something. Most of them was like 1.5 to 2.5 pounds. But what a day. I mean, just a fun day for it all to come together. A day I will never, ever forget. And it just goes to show there's somebody else in control that wanted me to not expose that place on national TV and previous events, that he wanted, that it was my time to win. I feel like, you know, at that event, at that moment, at that point in time. So one of those days I will never ever forget, you know, my arm cramping up and just so many fish, one right after another. I'd love to do it all over again. We got Red Crest coming up on Grand, and I hope I can find one of those $300,000 honey holes on Grand come the 3rd week of March. But hope you guys enjoying these backstories. Again, leave me some comments. This is answering one of those comments that you guys have left me a bunch about the Red Crest backstory. And that was it. That was, you know, that was it. That was the best day ever of fishing that you could ever ask for, to have that many bites on the final day when it was all on the line. So until then, guys, we'll see you next week. I hope you're enjoying the content.
Man, I won. I don't know what else to say, but man, we won, Dave. I love you. Kylie, Kate, I love you guys. This is for you guys, and I can't wait to get back home and share it with you. Pretty exciting. Jim, just
Congratulations, buddy.
thanks for being my boat official. It's an honor to be in the boat with you. Honor.